balancing the urban and rural. That's going to be a continual opportunity as the population and as an area grows, trying to bridge that harmony. And where that's very important is because it's people's quality of life is the an important attribute to why people choose to live where they live.
Right.
And how do you harmony-wise balance it? And the only thing we have now is a due process, so people have the opportunity to have their input through public hearings, and then ultimately a decision needs to be made by our governing body.
Sure.
So we're going to see more and more of that because, there are private properties that people own that they want to maximize their return. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the beauty of our capital economy.
Yeah.
And there's farmers that want to capitalize on that. There's vacant landowners that want to capitalize on that, and that creates the venue for, hey, if a property owner has 500 acres and they are putting it out on the market and a developer wants to develop it, well, the venue to see if you can develop it is our public hearing process.
Right.
And I think that's going to continue to happen because there's only limited amount of private lands in Pinal County. That's another important factor that is the public to understand. We have, I think, 30% of our county as a whole is privately owned land.
Yeah.
And then another 30 is state trust land.
Yep.
What do you think is the purpose of state trust land? State trust land's purpose is to maximize return for their beneficiaries. When we were a territory state, because western part of the U.S., much of its federal land and tribal land, the federal government established a large part of our state to be trust lands to help ensure future continuity of education and other resources. So the beneficiaries are primarily the school systems, the university systems.
Mm-hmm.
In order for them to maximize return, when they feel the market is right, they're going to sell those lands.
Okay.
And those lands are going to be sold to the highest and best use.
Okay.
So that their beneficiaries, the schools and colleges, can get a better return.
Right.
To sustain the schools and to sustain the universities.
So who decides that? Is that comes at the
state level? State commissioner, land commissioner.
The state land commissioner says, okay,
I'm ready to sell this piece.
I'm ready to sell
I'm going to put it up for auction.
Let the bidding begin.
Yeah. They don't want to put or allow a use that's going to devalue the next piece of land that they have adjacent to it.
Right.
So they look at it as a global approach, that I'm not going to allow a use that's going to have a negative implication to my surrounding lands at the state trust land. But in any case, any use if it's in the county, it still has to go through a public process,
right?
To get the zoning done, to get permitting, and public has a chance to provide input.
So does the state sell off much of their trust land? I mean,
they do. I mean, I think annually you can see on their website they'll usually have a dozen or so auctions throughout the state.
Yeah, where they're selling off small portions.
Yeah. The most recent one in our county was if you drive along Ironwood Road, it's in Apache Junction, just north of the LG project. There's a subdivisions that are on both sides that have started to develop.
Yeah.
It was auctioned off 3 years ago, and D.R. Horton and Brookfield Properties purchased it for master plan community.
Right.
So that was all state trust land state trust land is not a tax contributor,
Right.
so they don't pay property tax.
No.
Now these have been sold to private entities; they'll be added to the tax roll.
Okay. Wow, I just thought that was.
So
I thought they bought all that property so that I could hunt on it. That's what I thought.
yeah, so and many people think because it's vast, beautiful desert land that it's
Yeah, that's what it's. There
it's
for.
open space and it's recreation and you can go on state trust land with a permit and
Oh, yeah.
recreate and
Yeah.
hunt and all that.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it
you have
is-
full access with your hunting license
Yeah.
in Arizona to. Yeah.
But the notion that it will stay that way, it's. I think what'll happen because that's so close to the Metro Phoenix area.
Yeah.
So it's like a domino effect. The LG factory that's being resurrected in Queen Creek, that was all state trust land. It's an industrial use, but the everything's all contained inside the building to create batteries for EV.
Yeah.
It's along a major roadway that's already connected, State Route 24, and that State Route 24 will go from Ironwood all the way to US 60.
Yeah.
So
Good. Okay, so private land versus public. So we got state trust land. We also have federal properties.
we have federal BLM, Forest Service, tribal lands. Those are all
Yeah.
areas that we don't help manage because that's federal entities and tribal entities.
Yeah. Now you said how much is private land in Pinal County?
Probably about a little under 30%.
That's an amazing number because considering how big
Yeah.
Pinal County is.
Yeah, and 33% state trust land, and the rest is federal and tribal.
Wow. So that's one of our challenges moving forward is how much private land there is.
Yeah, and
People
what
want to move here.
right, and how the state trust land begins to develop or not develop. It's
Yeah, because that's kind of dictated to you guys from the state, right? I mean, or does the county do you guys have a say? Like when LG wanted to purchase that property, do they deal just directly to the state or do they have to come to you guys as well, to the county level and say, hey, this is what we want to do? Or is that just they go to the state and the state says, okay, Pinal County, this is what you're going to get a battery plant?
No, unfortunately, the state hasn't taken away our policing power of zoning.
Okay.
And permitting,
right?
And that they leave at the local level. So when LG was going through the acquisition process, and again, here's an important factor: that land was already annexed into the town of Queen Creek.
Okay.
So they went through Queen Creek to go get their zoning and permitting in a public process.
Okay.